Hey guys, it's Yvette, and believe it or not, I am going to be doing week 4 of the Winter Flurries Mystery Quilt from Fort Worth Fabric Studio tonight. So this is our second to last week. Next week is going to be finishing the whole quilt top. So I'm very excited. So let's get started. According to step 1 in the block assembly, the first things that we're going to need are the F fabric, which is this dark fabric with the green and red flowers. And then we're going to take 4 of these triangles from the I stack. Okay. And this is sort of like something that we had done on the last quilt that we did together with them. And so let's go ahead and move these things out of the way just for a bit so we can concentrate on what we're doing now. Okay, so we're going to put that there, and what they want us to do, oh, actually, you know what? I think we're going to use all of these because I'm just noticing, what does it say? Take an F square, 2 triangles. Yes. Okay, sorry about the silence. There are 4 of these. I didn't read far enough ahead. Okay, so we have 4 of those. And for each one, we're going to use 4 of these white triangles. Okay, so let's get that ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, and 4. Okay, there we go. So that's all of them. And so the first thing, let's just, I'm going to show you what to do on 1, and we'll repeat the same process on the other 3. Just scooch these over for a minute. Okay, so just like last time, what we're going to want to do is find the middle point in the square and the middle point in the triangle. And the way that we're going to do that is we will fold it in half. And then we're just going to sort of like fingernail press it. I just sort of like rub my fingernail on it a little bit just to kind of have that little spot. And I'll do it on the other side as well. Okay, and then we'll take one of the triangles and we're going to do, see if I do it that way, yeah, and we're going to fold that in half and make a little, just mark it with your fingernail. And you're putting right sides together, so you're going to take it and you're going to put it right there, just matching them up. The little line that you have creased in both pieces. Okay, and there. Okay, so then what I do, because it's me, is I will mark my 1/4 inch. Oh, here we go, here's a good one. And I'm, you know, anytime I am now making blocks for any reason, I scant 1/4 inch. So I'm going to take my 1/4 inch line and I'm going to put it just below the fabric. I'm not going to put it on the fabric. And this is going to make up for the thickness of my pen. Okay, I'll do the other side. And if you don't feel like you need to mark, that is perfectly fine. You can just watch as I waste my time. Okay, so I'm gonna on these little pieces right now. I'm just gonna use pins. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that my middles are lined up where I made the crease. And make sure it's right, they're right on the edge together. I just don't want that to move. And if I just put a couple pins in there, it just means I don't have to worry so much. That's all. I could just take it straight over and, you know, just go with the flow. Make sure it's all even before I, you know, stitch over it. But why not, you know? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this same thing with the other 3 blocks, and I will meet you back at the sewing machine and we will sew them up. Be right back. Okay guys, so here I am with the 4 blocks, and I have the white pieces, the white triangles with the scant 1/4 inch line drawn on and pinned onto my square at exactly the halfway point. And I'm going to start to stitch all these lines. I'm going to go ahead and chain piece it. And I remember that for our scant 1/4 inch, you'll want to stitch the line just to the inside of the 1/4 inch. Okay, and what that's going to do is make up for the thickness of your needle. So let's get started. Okay, so I have finished stitching both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the ironing board. I'm going to press these out, and then I'm going to take the other 2 white triangles that we have, and I'm going to do the same thing on the sides, and I will be right back at the sewing machine as soon as I have those ready. I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I am back, and I have pinned all of the 3rd and 4th triangles and marked my 1/4 inch, so I am ready to sew. Here we go. Oh, one note that I forgot to mention, if hopefully you haven't already, but you don't want to cut your extra like points on your triangles after you sew them, because if you do, you could potentially lose your corner whenever we're going to trim down, because we have to trim these down to 6.5 inch square. Okay, so when you're sewing, just go ahead and leave those little tails on, and they'll be taken care of later. Okay? Oops. Oops. Okay, so now I have these all stitched, and I'm going to take them over to the ironing board and I'm going to press them. And after that, we have a whole new step with new fabric, so I'm going to take you over to the cutting mat and we'll get started on step 2. Okay guys, actually I came back to the sewing machine because these 2 squares are actually quite simple, and this is the next step. You have 2 end squares, which were the tone-on-tone white squares, and then you had 2, let me see, it was N and C, I think, and the C was the 2 squares that you have that were this red with the snowflakes on it. Okay, so all you had to do was on the wrong side of the white, you would draw a guideline directly down the center, and then 2 lines, one on each side of that, a 1/4 inch. And I actually did that a scant 1/4 inch as well. So when I was drawing, say, the line here on the left, I made sure that my my 1/4 inch line was to the outside of this line that I was working with, and that's just to keep the scant 1/4 inch in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sew 2 lines on each square, one being this outer line and then the other being this outer line. The line that is down the middle, you're going to cut on that line with your rotary cutter, and then when you separate the 2, you'll have 2 1/2 inch square, I forget, listen, it's been a long day, but you'll have 2 squares basically out of each one. Okay, so we'll end up with 4 squares, and they'll be, you know, white on one side, red on the other. So let's go ahead and stitch those lines right now. Okay, to keep the scant 1/4 inch, I'm looking at the 2 lines. I'm going to first sew the one on the right, and I'm going to keep my needle to the left of the line, and that's just to keep the scant 1/4 inch right down the middle. Okay. Okay, so now I have those 2 lines sewn on either side of the center line. I'm going to head over to the cutting mat. I'm going to cut on that center line right down the middle, and then I'm going to go over to the ironing board and I'm going to press these, and then we'll see what the next step is. I'll be right back. Okay guys, I'm actually going to stop for the night. Pretty tired. I've been working all day, and when I went to look at the pattern, there's still quite a bit left to go. So I'll pick up tomorrow where I left off. I just wanted to show you where I am right now. I have trimmed these larger squares down to 6.5 inch square as required, and I have trimmed these 4 little squares down to 3.5 inch square, as stated in the pattern. So I will be back tomorrow night and we will continue with step 3. Good night. Hey guys, it's Yvette. So I am going to be playing catch up on the Winter Flurries mini quilt by Fort Worth Fabric Studio, and I've just spent a couple minutes kind of going over where am I? And I know that I have stuff that's recorded on my camera, so I'm just going to sort of pick up where I left off, hoping that that's exactly where I left off so that you guys aren't all really confused, as I am right now. And I'm planning on doing a lot of catch up. it's just been a crazy week, and if I do have the time, I'm going to try to just do a little one-on-one, tete-a-tete, as we might want to say. Maybe you say it faster than that. Is it tete-a-tete? Tete-a-tete? I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And if I do, then I can give you a little bit of a catch-up of what I've been doing in December. I have slowed down on the video front, mainly because my whole family lives out of state. So every year I've always been really good about doing my shopping and getting it out. And this year, nope, didn't happen. It's terrible. This year I'm so not ready for Christmas. It's not even funny. So that said, I am going to right now go over and get some pieces ready for the Winter Flurries quilt, and I'll be right back with you to pick up where we left off. Hey guys, it's Yvette, and I'm here trying to pick up where I left off with the Winter Flurries quilt. And so what I have in front of me, and I'm listening to my iron turn off, which is fine. These are, okay, Jelly Bean, come up here, baby. Okay, go somewhere else then. Okay, Jelly Bean. JB, nobody can see. We have these rectangles, which are the J rectangles, and then we have these red squares, which are A, the letter A. Now I've already marked all of them with the diagonal line, because that's where we're going to sew them. We are making more flying geese. We're going to make 16 units. So we have 16 rectangles of J, and we have 32 squares of A, and I'm going to go ahead and attach those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do half and then the other half, because the way it works is they sort of intersect. So we'll do this half, and then we will trim off this piece. We will go and press this open, and then come back and attach the other side. And hopefully you know what I'm talking about, since we've got Jelly Bean walking all over everything. So, JB, nobody can see, baby. Your mama wasn't a glass maker. Okay, so I'm going to put my squares there. I'm going to put my rectangles there. And, well, let me try to put them so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew from there to there first, and I'm going to chain piece. So here we go. And also be sure that you are putting right sides together. Okay, so I have gone ahead and sewed this, and actually it goes this way, half of the squares onto the rectangles. So now I am going to go over to the cutting mat, and I'm going to cut 1/4 inch to this side of my sewn line, and this part that I trim will be, that's going to get trimmed off, and then I will press this open and come back to sew the other side. So I will be right back. Okay guys, so I'm back and I have pressed these open to this side, and now we just have to take the remaining A fabric and attach it to the other side of the J fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and start that now, and we'll just chain piece it. Okay, so I have all the other squares sewn down onto our rectangles. I'm going to go over and I'm going to go to the cutting board. I'm going to trim off 1/4 inch to this side of our sewn line, and then this will be a discarded piece. Then we will press this open and we'll have our flying geese. And it looks like we have some extra. That might have to do with the next step. So let me go and get this done and come back and figure out what we do with this. I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I'm back with the flying geese, and these are all done, ready to go. The next step that we have is we are going to make or take these, gosh, I don't remember what this was, L maybe? But they're white squares, and we're going to put one on either side, and we want it to be a V pointing down, okay? That's important because the others are going to be different than that. So we're going to sew one on either side, and I'm going to go ahead and do that now. We're just going to chain piece it. So let's get started. Okay, so I have finished sewing on both white pieces. I'm going to go and press them out, and I'll be right back with our next step. Whoop, can you see that? Okay guys, so I'm back with more of the flying geese that we just made. The pieces that we're going to add on are going to be added with the V pointing up. We're going to need to put one whole white square on the left, and we're going to need to put one of these pieces on this side. And what we're going to do is it's going to end up being like that, right? So we're going to flip it over this way and sew here. So I've already drawn my 1/4 inch lines, my scant 1/4 inch lines, and so we are ready to sew. So I'm going to get started on that now. We're going to chain piece them. Okay, so I have all of the, both of the pieces sewn on to each flying geese, and this is how you should, or it should look. I'm going to go over and press this open, and then come back to see what the next step is, because I haven't even looked ahead. I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I'm back with the next piece, and what we're going to do is we're taking these squares that we have made, and we're going to take 2 of the flying geese, and we're going to sew 1 on either side with the point facing the square. So we're going to go ahead and put those together. We have 4 sets to make, so I am going to get started now. We're going to chain piece them. Here we go. Now for me, I was going to say, I know I've watched some people who piece and they have something that they call a leader piece. Absolutely nothing wrong with using that. I personally don't feel that it's necessary. What I do is I will take my my thread from my top stitching, and I'll just make sure I pull it out long enough so that I can hold it firmly. And after I lower the needle, I will hold on to it firmly, but not pulling, just making sure that you're holding it. And I will do 1 stitch, stop, and then another stitch, stop. And that, I mean, like, I would say 99.999% of the time, I do not have a problem with the machine sucking the fabric down inside. That said, it does occasionally happen, but very, very, very infrequently. For me, this works fine. So, just letting you know. Okay. Oh my goodness. Bless me. Okay, here we go. Okay guys, so we're back and I have finished sewing on the two side pieces. I am going to go over to the ironing board and press those out, and I'll be right back with the next step. Okay guys, so it's the next day because basically I ran out of battery. So I had to charge up the battery, and that like took forever. So here I am back, and we're going to piece this together. This is going to be the last piecing that I do for week 4, which is just before we put it all together. So we've got the middle piece that we just did, and then these two pieces which we did just before that. You're going to want to have your points facing or pointing toward the middle, and so I'm going to put those together just like this. I have already marked my scant 1/4 inch, and so you just flip them right sides together, and I have my line here and my line here. So I'm going to go ahead and start chain piecing that now. Here we go.
everybody, what are you doing? Like everybody, nobody can see what I'm sewing. They just looking at you. Look at you. You hungry? Yeah? You hungry, baby? Yeah. You just hungry? Alright, you know what?
Hey guys, JB is hungry, so I'm gonna take a short little break and go feed him, and then we'll be back so that you can actually see me sewing something. Mwah, my baby. We'll be right back. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I've got these all sewn together now, and I'm going to go over to the ironing board and I'm going to press these out, and then we're pretty much done. All I have to do after that is just you know, trim it down and make sure it's the, I think, 12.5-inch square, and then I will work on finishing up the entire quilt. So I guess that's the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!